What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Phillies sports history for April 22nd, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Tuesday edition. Happy Earth Day to everybody out there on planet Earth. It's Earth Day. It is also Tuesday. That means it's time for a little bit of positivity / motivation. And we're going to continue our look at the 5 harsh truths that everybody needs to accept to be a better person. Last week we talked about the only person that is in control of your happiness is you. I think the specific wording was no one is responsible for your happiness but you. And a quick little story about that. Last week was not my best week. Had all these things planned, and then for a variety of reasons, things just happened. Life happened. And started to feel just sort of down and a little sorry for myself. And then I thought back to the Tuesday motivation. I'm like, you know what? I could sit here and be miserable, be this, be that, but I'm going to take control and make sure, and ended up turning it around and finished out the week strong after a rough start. So just a little example of me practicing what I preach here. But that was last week's harsh truth. And today, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but sometimes you need to hear this. And I've been in these positions before, and we'll get into it. But the number 2 harsh reality that we all need to accept is if all your relationships, not just romantic, in general, if all your relationships have the same problems, maybe you're the problem. And not saying, oh, you're wrong, you need this, that, or the other. But you see this a lot. People tend to say, oh, this person let me down, or oh, this person let me down. It seems like I'm attracted to this type of person, or this always happens to me. And if the same things keep happening, I think it's time to take a stop, take a look in the mirror, and have an honest conversation with yourself. I haven't really referenced this before, but I've talked about David Goggins. I've read both of his books, and he talks about the accountability mirror. And I really use that every day, especially when I'm getting up at 4 a.m. The last thing I feel like doing, I feel like rolling back in, resetting my alarm, and sleeping for another hour or two. But I force myself to get up, go into the bathroom, look in the mirror, and have those honest conversations, because you know what? At the time, going back to bed is going to feel better. But going up, working out, being able to put a clear mind and have my all for this podcast, it makes it worth it. So if you keep having the same problems in all of your relationships, whether they're romantic, friends, family, co-workers, whoever, if the same issues and same problems keep happening no matter who you're talking with or who you're dealing with, I think it's time to have that look in the mirror and have an honest conversation with yourself. Like I said, I've been there before, had to have some deep reflective thoughts and change some things in order to break out of the cycle. And that's truly what it is. You get in a comfortable cycle, and change is hard. Nobody wants to change, but it's necessary to grow. And if you're experiencing the same issues, no matter what type of relationship you're talking about here, maybe you're the problem. And like I said, look in that accountability mirror, hold yourself accountable, and be honest. I mean, if you can't look yourself in the mirror and be honest, then who can you be honest with? So hopefully, as you go through this week, that's something you can kind of keep in mind. I told you my success story. I don't know if it's a success story, but kind of went back and relied on last week's harsh truth. But like I said, this week is pretty self-explanatory. But if all your relationship have the same problems, maybe you're the problem. And I think it's time to have that look. And it seems kind of harsh for positivity / motivation. This is definitely more on the motivation side, but it's something to really think about. Look in the mirror, the accountability mirror, as David Goggins says, and have those honest conversations with yourself and truly be honest. And what can you change? It's not easy. It's not easy. However, it's necessary in order to grow. So that is today's Tuesday motivation / positivity. emphasis on the motivation, but we're continuing our over the next we've got 3 more weeks now. We're just dealing with some harsh truths that we all need to accept in order to be better people. And today, if all your relationships have the same problem, maybe you're the problem. All right, that is today's Tuesday motivation. Let's get into some quick housekeeping before we get into the world of Philly sports. Obviously, as always, be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok, on Instagram at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont, and continue to spread the word as we grow this. And I'm trying to make an effort to do this more. If you're a new listener, welcome, enjoy, hit up the social media, subscribe, like, and continue to spread the word. And as always, remember, if you want to see highlights, photos, newspaper clippings, just different things that stem back to the whatever we're talking about for this day in Philly sports history, that is all on my social media, including my Facebook and LinkedIn. So please check that out. And before we get into the Phillies, lots to say today about the Phillies. I just want to give a shout out to all Little League coaches out there. And we opened up our 3rd, 4th grade intramural season yesterday. And it's been tough because of the rain. There hasn't been that many practices, but typically I don't get involved with coaching. Just I'll yell to make sure my son or my daughter or whoever is paying attention or give a little bit of advice, but I let the coaches do their thing. I had the opportunity to be the DJ yesterday for the walk-up songs. And man, the analytics and the pressure with coaching 3rd and 4th grade kids is insane because the way our township does it, the travel kids have their team, but they are, I guess, required to play in the intramural league, so they're kind of dispersed throughout, which sounds all well and good, but because the travel sort of takes precedent over the intramural, I mean, there's text messages going around, pitch counts happening. It was crazy. And like, there's a team of the 4 coaches, and they're all like, each of them had a job. Like, it was intense for 3rd and 4th grade. So just wanted to give a little shout out for Little League coaches out there. It's something I've done in the past. Pre-kids, something I've debated doing before, but it's tough because 2 kids playing in sports, it would mean I wouldn't be able to see my daughter play or my son play, depending on which way I went to coach. So that's why I let them deal with it, and God bless you all. It's insane, but like pitch counts for 3rd and 4th graders, just which I get. I'm not like, I get it. You don't want to burn kids out and everything, but it's intense, absolutely intense. So shout out to all the Little League coaches out there. All right, I guess let's start with the question of the day, because yesterday I asked you, is this a must-win series for the Phillies? It is April, but 60% of you agreed with me and said, yes, it is, in part because of the standings, in part because of what happened in the playoffs last year. Lots of good discussion on this one. Some people saying it's hard to call a series in April must win, but with the way the Phils have been playing, that was Tim from the Souderton area, and I agree. I mean, I think we want to see them come out and be competitive. I had other people saying it's the Mets. It's always must win. So thank you, as always, for participating in the question of the day. We will have another one here in a couple minutes, but first, the game. And I think the Mets might have our number. I mean, it is what it... Listen, the Phillies have not been playing great, but the way their offense was rolling against the Marlins, to have 2 hits going into the 9th inning, they've struck out 13 times yesterday, and it was just... They couldn't get anything. It was ridiculous. I was having PTSD flashbacks from the playoff series. They did get it going in the 9th, but Stott was good with the 3-run shot. He hit a blast. As much as the Mets have the Phillies number, I think we have Edwin Diaz's number. We always seem to do well against him. Made it more interesting than what it should have been. But Bryce, what are you doing? and if you didn't see it, if you were sleeping, Bryce had his final at bat and just swung at 3 straight sliders that weren't even close to the plate. Like, I think sometimes he gets in his head that he needs to be the hero and hit the bomb to tie the game. And no, Bryce, we just need you to get a hit, get on base, manufacture runs. So tough one to lose. 5-4 sounded much closer than what it truly was. Aaron Nola, I don't know. Again, we talked about it after the last one. I don't know if he's lost something, but I don't think his velocity is that off of where he was this point last year. He's just missing. The one pitch, I forget who hit it, but the second home run was a meatball right down the middle of the plate. He just literally missed it. I mean, I could have hit that one out. And they certainly got lucky with the Soto. Soto absolutely crushed that ball. There was like an 1.5 inches, 2 inches foul. So Nola might be on the decline in his career. I don't know, but he did get it together. To his defense, he got it together. Probably, and this is going to go against Rob Thompson, I would not have put him back. I know the bullpen was taxed, but I don't know if I'd have put him out there for the 7th inning the way he did, especially since he let a couple guys get on base, and those runs were given to him, but that was more Ruiz than anything. But Nola, I don't know. We have some big issues on this team, both offensively, pitching. I guess they weren't that bad defensively, but man. They're back at it today, though. Christopher Sanchez is on the mound. He's playing a road game, so I want to see what he does. But, man. And Lindor has just completely owned the Phillies since that playoff series. Like, just, dude is insane right now. But, hey, it's April. Phillies are 3 games back. Need to win this one today. I think it's going to start getting dicey. And going back to Topper, and I don't want to pile on him right now, but if I hear him say one more time, oh, it was kind of cold, Aaron Nola doesn't like pitching in the cold. Shut up. Are you kidding me? Like, he's been in Philly for how many years? I don't think I've ever seen him struggle out of the gate like this. It's spring in Pennsylvania or the Northeast. They were in New York last night, but that's going to be your excuse? So I guess come playoff time, we should just count on Nola not doing anything because it's going to get chilly. Like, come on, man. Like, I get that you're trying to stick up for your players, and I don't know. And I truly think, right or wrong, I think he's going to be the next domino to drop because, I mean, if that's... like I said, I get sticking up for your players, but to use this is the 2nd or 3rd time now he's used it's cold. And I guess that'd be fine if this was Arizona and they traveled to the East Coast in the spring and it was chilly. But even then, what are you going to do in the postseason? Like, Topper is not high on my list of favorite people right now. And I did want to mention this. I wanted to mention it yesterday. I only caught some of it hanging out at the in-laws for Easter, but Cole Hamels was on the TV broadcast on Sunday. I don't think he did that bad of a job from what I heard. It's good to hear a fresh perspective, kind of a newer perspective. But yeah, I don't think he did that bad. I miss Sundays with Schmidt, but if we're going to have Cole for a couple of those games on Sunday, I definitely don't think he was bad. And I know everybody gets on Ruben Amaro, but he can be annoying sometimes, but I think that's just his personality. I don't mind Ruben Amaro either, but it was good to have Kruk back last night. But Cole Hamels, let me know your thoughts on Cole. I get his voice is kind of whiny, nasally, but I think his perspective and what he brought definitely was fresh because you have Schmidt and Kruk, and even on the radio, Larry Anderson, even Kevin Stocker, guys that played in the 90s or before. So it's nice to hear somebody who does have that World Series experience, pitched here for a long time, and can give that perspective. But let me know your thoughts. Cole, yay or nay? That is not today's question of the day. Today's question of the day, with Ranger Suarez coming back, does he go slide into the starting rotation, or do you put him in the bullpen? Yeah, I mean, you could keep Taijuan Walker as the fifth starter, who hasn't been doing that bad, and slide Ranger to the bullpen. I know it's a contract year for Ranger. I really do think that you could get away with that. It might be the best option. Ranger has done that before. I was listening to WIP at the gym today, John Johnson's overnight show, and one of the callers brought up a kind of interesting sort of scenario, and I don't necessarily hate it because eventually Andrew Painter is going to be ready to play. Obviously, they're going to treat him with kids' gloves and kind of ease him in. But the caller suggested, and I don't think it's bad, have Andrew Painter be sort of the opener. Have him go 2 or 3 innings. That way you keep his pitch count down. Maybe you can extend the amount of time that you're using him, and then have Ranger be the guy that comes in after Andrew Painter and then go 4 to 6 innings, and then maybe or even 5 innings, whatever it is, and you're kind of saving the bullpen. You're getting both of those guys in decent spots. I didn't think it was a bad idea at all, but in order to do that, you'd have to put Ranger in the bullpen. So what are your thoughts on that? 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Let me know your thoughts on that. Anything else Philly sports related? I mean, I think with the way the bullpen is, you got to try something. And with all of the expectations, and I know I've been saying this since day one, but you got to pull out all the stops. I think the pressure is high. There's a lot at stake, so you got to get guys out of their comfort level. Bryson Stott has been doing well in the leadoff spot. I'm fine with keeping the lineup like that, but if guys aren't comfortable, guess what? Being comfortable has not gotten us a World Series. So if it means Ranger going to the bullpen, go to the bullpen, Ranger. But let me know your thoughts on that on the Back to the Future voice and text line in any of my social media. Do have some Eagles news heading into the draft. They did extend center Cam Jurgens yesterday to a 4-year, $68 million contract. Pretty much 4/5 of the offensive line will be here through 2028. It's a solid move. It's a lot of money, but I think when it comes to extending guys on the offensive line, with the track record that our line has had, Jeff Stoutland being just a stud coach, I'm fine with keeping the consistency and the continuity there. And as like I said, it's one of those positions where, knock on wood, we've not had to really worry about in a long time here. So solid move. Cam will be here. But all of this, I don't know if there's going to be any more extensions or moves before the draft on Thursday. But solid move. I'll take it. Be sure to check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences podcast. Lots of great things happening with their Sports Fan Network. Go to clashingconferences.com for details on what they have to offer, how you can get involved, and then check out their podcast wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And of course, go do some Philly goat shopping. It's going to be almost 80 degrees today. Go get some tees for the summer. Get some of those canvas loafers. I'm wearing my Schmitties right now. Like I said, they're super, super comfortable. They have slides for the pool or the gym, whatever you got going on, the beach. Was able to wear mine when we were down in Clearwater, and they're comfy. So go. All the stuff Philly Goat has to offer. If you haven't yet, check out the Jordan Spector collection. They're partnering with them. Be sure, whatever you get on Philly Goat, to use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. Helps you out. Lets Ryan and the crew over there know that you're listening. And obviously, it helps me out as well. So go to Philly Goat, use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, it's time for our Sixers and Flyers Tankathon, the Tankathon segment on today's podcast. Ran the simulations this morning. The Sixers dropped all the way down to the 8th spot today, meaning 4 teams jumped ahead of them. Very, very unlikely. I don't want to say, obviously, it's not an impossibility, but mathematically, very unlikely to happen. But the Sixers dropped to 8th this week, or today, I should say. And the Flyers, when we ran it, they stayed in the 4th spot. I'm going to give an update at the end of the week, sort of where we're going. And obviously, with all things numbers and math, you got to kind of have sort of a baseline. So that's what we're getting right now, and we'll kind of see where maybe we can predict where the Sixers and Flyers will be. But we'll update that, the actual numbers. But today, the Sixers dropped to 8th. Flyers stood pat at 4. All right, we're going to stick with the Flyers today. And on this day in 2018, the Flyers lost to the Penguins 8-5 at the Wells Fargo Center, be eliminated from the first round of the playoffs by the Pittsburgh Penguins 4-2. In this game, they blew a 4-2 lead, but it was just one of those things. They were overmatched, injuries. Ironically, though, this was the last time they had a real playoff series for the Flyers. I mean, if you want to count the COVID year in the bubble where everything was wonky and somehow the Flyers had like the first or second seed in the East, you can count that. But this is the last time they legitimately were in the playoffs. But in this game, Jake Guentzel and Sean Couturier each scored 5 points. It was the first time that opposing players scored 5 points or more in a game. Couturier had a hat trick and added 2 assists. Now, what made Couturier's game so much more amazing is he did this all, scored 5 points, hat trick, 2 assists with a torn MCL. He had missed game 4 with that torn ACL, tore it in practice, but has to be one of the gutsiest performances in Flyers history and quite possibly Philadelphia sports history. But that all happened today in 2018. Flyers lose to the Penguins, getting bounced out of the playoffs to the Penguins 8-5, losing 4-2. But Sean Couturier, 5 points, hat trick, 2 assists with a torn MCL. And little side note, kind of got me thinking about gutsy performances. And I mean, you had AI always seemed to be banged up. I remember, I believe it was the Toronto series in 2001. The Daily News had that infamous cover with the Spirit of 76 where they superimposed AI, Eric Snow, and I believe it was Aaron McKee, you know, the one with the guy carrying the American flag, the one guy playing the drum. But I can't think of like a specific like moment though where AI was like, oh, this is the Jordan flu game. Joe obviously was always gutsy, came back, knees, fractured orbital bones, Bell's palsy, but never really had that breakout performance like Couturier did. The closest I could come up with, and this will be a little bit of a bonus question of the day if you have a gutsier performance, was probably when Donovan threw 4 touchdowns and 300 yards against the Cardinals on a broken leg. Probably the gutsiest performance in Philly sports history. If you can think of something that either tops that or should be included on the list, let me know. But on this day, back in 2018, Sean Couturier had a hat trick and added 2 assists on a torn MCL. Gutsy. All right, I mentioned the draft is Thursday. We're going to continue our best Eagles draft picks. Yesterday, we talked about the supplemental draft. Today, we're going to look at the guys that were not drafted, the undrafted gems that the Eagles always seem to find. Some of them include Vince Papale. Obviously, they made a movie about him. Corey Clement and Trey Burton from Super Bowl 52 team. Both of them played major roles in that Super Bowl win. Hollis Thomas and Chad Lewis. Also, both of those guys played in the Super Bowl. Actually, Chad Lewis did not play due to the injury. But both of those guys were integral parts of getting the Eagles to Super Bowl 39 against the Patriots. TJ Edwards was an undrafted free agent, played on the 2022 Super Bowl team, Super Bowl 57. But the 2 best that I could see from going through the list, undrafted free agents for the Eagles, First, Herman Edwards, undrafted in 1977 out of San Diego State, played with the Eagles through 1985. He played also in a Super Bowl, Super Bowl 15, 33 career interceptions, which I didn't realize this. He's number 2 on the Eagles' all-time interception list. Did not think he had that many. Also, never made a Pro Bowl for as good and as solid as his career was. And if you're keeping score at home, Eric Allen, Bill Bradley, and Brian Dawkins all are tied with 34 career interceptions for the Eagles. Herm, though, also had 2 defensive touchdowns in his career. None of them were bigger than the one he had in 1978 against the Giants up in the Meadowlands. You might know it better as the Miracle at the Meadowlands when Joe Pathargic went to hand off to Larry Zonka, fumbled the ball. All they had to do was run out the clock. Herm Edwards scampers into the end zone. The Eagles win, the Eagles win, the Eagles win. But Herman Edwards, undrafted out of San Diego State in 1977. And our second spotlight here, one of my all-time favorites, undrafted out of Cheney, a local guy. Well, he's not from here, but went to school here. In 1984, Andre Dirty Waters, and he played with the Eagles from 1984 to through 1993. One of the most feared hitters in NFL history. Added 15 career interceptions, but just remember, borderline dirty player, but he struck fear into receivers all over the league. He is on the Eagles all 75th anniversary team. The NFL even had to change some of the rules for contact with receivers due to Andre's hits. He certainly walked that line. Sometimes he crossed it. Sometimes he didn't. Sometimes he got called on penalties that he shouldn't because he crossed the line. But Dirty Waters was an undrafted free agent out of Cheney, local kid, in 1984. So he and Herman Edwards, 1977 out of San Diego State, are our undrafted free agent spotlights of the day. And again, not bad careers for 2 guys who were not drafted. And back then, the draft was a lot longer than what it is now. So to be able to be undrafted and have that much of an impact on the Eagles teams is pretty impressive. So Herman Edwards, Andre Waters, today's undrafted free agent spotlight. But the Eagles, like I said, have had some good ones. Lots of key contributors to Super Bowl teams. Vince Papality, they made a movie about him. You might know him as Marky Mark in the movie, but that is today's draft spotlight. On this day in 2018, Flyers lose to the Penguins 8-5 to get bounced out of the playoffs. Sean Couturier, though, gutsiest performance possibly in Flyers history. Had 5 points, including a hat trick and 2 assists on a torn MCL. Let me know your thoughts on other gutsy performances in Philly sports history. The closest, like I said, I can come up with is Donovan throwing 4 touchdowns and 300 yards on a broken leg. But if you can top it, let's have some conversation here on a Tuesday. We'll have more on our Tankathon Spotlight tomorrow as we run our simulations for both the Flyers and the Sixers. We'll have more and any Eagles draft news as we get closer. Let's go, Christopher Sanchez. Can we bounce back today? Are the Phillies broken? Should Ranger be put in the bullpen? Let me know your thoughts on that on the Back to the Future voice and text line. That is today's question of the day. And obviously, remember, today is Tuesday's positivity/motivation, and we're looking at the harsh truths we all need to accept. And today, if all of your relationships have the same problem, perhaps you're the problem. Look in the accountability mirror, as David Goggins says, and have that honest conversation with yourself and make the necessary changes. You got to be honest, and if you can't be honest with yourself, who can you be honest with? Hopefully that will help you through your week. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for April 22nd, 2025. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Tuesday. It's going to be beautiful. Go Phils. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.